I'd now like to share with you some of the amazing information about this beautiful painting Broken by Greg Postle, which is his finalist entry for the Holmes Prize. It's an interesting painting because it's a collection of a lot of things that are important to Greg. One of the interesting things that's happened with Greg in the last 5 years is that he's moved to the Kimberley in northwest Australia. And it's an amazing area with a really rugged landscape and a really challenging environment with the weather. But being up there and being exposed to a landscape that is just full of bird life has been an awesome experience for Greg. And for a painter that likes to depict nature, he describes the experience as having been mind-blowing. So it's really inspiring, his beautiful artwork, and it's lovely now to see him back painting again and producing gorgeous work. Now, Broken is a really interesting painting because it's the choice of the bird as a subject that people find quite unusual. He's actually an ibis, or a straw-necked ibis. And most people regard ibises as scavengers or bin birds. But for Greg, who acutely observes all the birds he paints, he goes out into the field and he will spend many, many hours watching birds and taking photographs. And in fact, he's got thousands and thousands of photographs of birds, all various species, all doing different things. And he refers to those imagery, to that imagery whenever he's creating his paintings. And what he's noticed about the ibis is that they're actually really wise birds, and they're very, very clever opportunists. So there's an aura of wisdom surrounding this particular bird. And they're actually also very communal in their behaviour. They hang out in big family groups, they feed in groups, and they also fly in big groups. So this is something that he really admires about the ibis, and why he's chosen to paint that to replicate this wisdom. He's also injecting into the painting the influence of the environment that he's been living in and the particular challenges that come with that environment. And one of the really lovely things that's been included in this painting that's not immediately obvious, you have to go and find it, is that the eye of the bird is reflecting the fires that rampage through the northwest of the Kimberley. It's a lovely surreal element, but also it's a nod to the realism of living in that particular environment. So the painting really, in Greg's eyes, is about beauty, but also the beast, because fire ravages the environment, but it also brings life. And we can see that he's depicted the bird in a rugged environment. You know, we've got the parched soil and the sandy rocks in amongst the bird. And also this incredibly emotional element in the painting, which is the skull from another ibis. So we can interpret from that, if we like, that is his mate, which has died. So one thing that I love about Greg's work, and that lifts him, in my opinion, beyond being a very skilled painter of realism, is that he has this power to inject emotion into all of his paintings. And it lifts him up into another realm of being a master bird painter, because he thinks very deeply about all of his compositions before he begins. We can be seduced, and obviously we can admire the beautiful realism that he's able to replicate in his paintings. But a painting has to have a little bit more than that if we're actually going to linger and enjoy it and think about what is really going on in the composition. And that's one of the beautiful qualities that's evident in many of Greg Postle's work. So in addition to the beautiful meaning and pathos that's in many of Greg's paintings, obviously his technique is the thing that really stands out to most people when they first look at one of his paintings. And that's been achieved from many years of experience and experimentation. And if we look closely here at the painting, we can see that there's just so many beautiful individual brushstrokes that have been applied to create the depth and the colour and the texture and the detail in the painting. And Greg achieves this by using very fine brushes. And he's very patient, and he's a perfectionist, and that comes through in his beautiful, beautiful paintings. And his use of light is really lovely as well. It's sort of shadowy, and the background of the painting is almost like a dark Renaissance picture, which is beautiful because it creates impact and light, like a focus or a spotlight on the thing that matters to him, which is the bird. Now his backgrounds as well, whilst they look very simple, it's actually very, very skillful how he creates that. It's all hand done, and it's all carefully blended by using a series of layers of oil, which is applied with a big brush, also rags, sometimes with his fingers to blend it. And it's just built up layer by layer by layer, and then careful layers of very light varnish applied to the top, which is pretty difficult when you're working in the Kimberley with the environment up there. Often he has to work under a really fine gauze of material to stop the flies and the dust and everything getting into his paintings. So, you know, it's just amazing how meticulous he is with his paintings to create this beautiful, beautiful effect.